Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started with our presentation here. It's 4:30. Thank you all for coming tonight to our Highway 23 Safety Assessment Open House. This is our third open house that we've held. The format for tonight is we'll give a presentation here to talk through some information. We'll talk a little bit about the boards, and at the end we'll do a little session where we can do some feedback. And so we'd like to hold questions until the end when we start breaking out into smaller groups, and you can talk to assessment staff here that can help answer questions. And those of us who are working on this assessment will be wearing name tags, and we can help answer any questions you might have. So as far as the presentation goes and the purpose of this open house, we want to give this group an update on where we're at with the assessment and then our timeline moving forward. We want to have a quick discussion about setting speed limits and what that means for Highway 23 and how that correlates back to reducing speeds along Highway 23. We also have some preferred strategies we'd like to share with the group tonight. And then we'll talk a little bit about our next steps. But most importantly, we're going to be looking for some feedback from this group. Again, for those who haven't been in attendance in any of our prior events, our mission here is to develop a common vision for Highway 23, not only to address some of our issues that we're seeing today, but also as we move into the future, as Marshall continues to grow, particularly on the outside of Highway 23. So as far as our process goes, we're getting towards the end of it here. We've gone through a data collection effort to understand what's going on out there today, how many people are driving the roadway, how fast they're driving it, and also what are we seeing from a crash standpoint. We've conducted that analysis and used that to help formulate our preliminary alternatives, which as a group, we worked through and identified preferred strategies that we'll talk about today. And as always, we've had placed a main focus on public and community engagement throughout this process, and so this is ongoing through the course of our assessment. So throughout various events that we've held so far, we've had a couple open houses. We've reached out to several focus groups to try to get some more detailed information. We spoke with a law enforcement group, an education group, the pedestrian and bicycle community, as well as several local businesses and the trucking industry. And the common themes that we heard, if you could sum up everything that we've heard so far, can be boiled down into essentially four main areas. The first one, travel speeds along Highway 23. We're concerned with travel speeds. The second one, we're concerned with safety at intersections and trying to improve those. Third thing is access. We're concerned with how we get onto Highway 23 from the city, how we cross over Highway 23. Those are our major concerns. And then lastly, safety for people who are not in their car, who are either walking or taking their bike. So as far as setting speed limits along a corridor, we understand that travel speeds along Highway 23 is a concern. And so the question we always get asked is, will lowering the speed limit reduce speeds? And the simple answer to that is no. We have a lot of research and history that tells us that just changing out the sign and lowering the posted speed limit will not get us to our desired result for this assessment. And a good example of this is several studies that have been completed here in Minnesota where we've gone through and made adjustments to the posted speed, and we understand what the end result of that was. So a couple examples here where we have a large change in speed. For example, where we went from a 50-mile-an-hour roadway to a 40-mile-an-hour roadway, we saw barely any reduction in how fast people were traveling. So it's a key takeaway from some of the history that we have throughout the state here. So what are the effects of this posted speed limit? Well, compliance only exists when the driver expectation is met. So drivers essentially understand how the road flows, and then they read that and make their decision on how fast they want to drive based on that. So lower posted speed limits do not reduce speeds, but also what we see here is higher posted speeds do not increase speeds either. So for example, down here, we had a 30-mile-an-hour roadway, converted that to a 35-mile-an-hour roadway, and we saw barely any difference. So the important takeaway here is that drivers read the road, not the signs. And when we talk about reading the road, what we're talking about is essentially when you're driving down the road and it's what you see beside you, it helps you make a decision on how fast you're driving. So we have several examples here of starting with lower posted speed limits all the way up to higher posted speed limits. The first example here is Highway 169 through St. Peter, which is a 30-mile-an-hour roadway. What we see here is buildings up close to, buildings up close to the roadway. We've got narrow shoulders, on-street parking. We've got a raised median here. So 30 miles an hour is appropriate for this type of environment. The next example is Highway 23 through Spicer. A little bit different characteristic here. A little bit wider boulevards with more space back to the buildings. This stretch is posted at 40 miles an hour. The next example here is Highway 371 in Baxter. This is a 50-mile-an-hour roadway. And again, we start to see the changes here where in Spicer we've got a curved roadway, so a raised edge along the roadway, whereas in Baxter we've got a wider shoulder. And then the last one here is Highway 23 in Marshall near Lyon Street, where we have a posted speed limit of 55 miles an hour, where we have a lot of wide open space without a lot of visual cues to alert drivers to slow down. So all this information will be on a board over here that we can talk about at the end if you have questions on it. So as far as taking a look at Highway 23 all the way through Marshall, some of the strategies that we're preferring here to move forward with, in this first category here, we've got engineering category. So this is looking at the detailed design of the roadway, the signing that goes into it, enforcement, working with the law enforcement folks here to see if there's opportunities to enhance that law enforcement of a posted speed limit. Education, it's working with the community to essentially explain the difference or the concerns with speeding or distracted driving and what is the outcome of that. And then also from an evaluation standpoint, as improvements happen along 23 throughout the years, make sure that we're continuing to monitor it for a potential to change the posted speed limit, to potentially remove some flashing lights out there. For example, at the signals today, we have the flashing lights that warn you to stop. Those could potentially come out if we can get drivers to slow down. And then also from a local perspective, to make sure that as we develop Marshall east of the Highway 23, that local connections are made so that way we're not adding additional access to Highway 23 to create more issues. As far as the engineering, I'll jump back up here for a moment. A lot of what we've heard throughout this process here is speed calming, or an effort to reduce speeds. And so there's an opportunity to install trees and vegetation as we go to help give drivers that feel of more interference closer to the roadway. We can also look at driver feedback signs. What's important about these is, we usually see an immediate change in driver behavior, but over the course of time, it's not something that's consistent. So a lot of times those are just short-term fixes. Again, all this information will be on a board back here if you want to read it afterward and ask questions. Now we have several slides here that talk more specifically about individual locations along the corridor. What I'd like to do with this first slide here is explain what information's on this board, and then we can talk through the strategies as we go here. So for County Road 7, what we have here are two preferred strategies. As a group, we looked at several different strategies here, but going through our evaluation process, in this instance, two came to the top as being a cost-effective treatment to address our issues out there, knowing that long-term funding for transportation projects is scarce and difficult to come by, so we need to make sure that our strategies are cost-effective. Along with the alternative or the strategies, we've got how do they address the four main issues or the concerns that we've heard from the public as we've gone through this process. And on the right-hand side, we've got some notations as far as potential reduction in crashes. So a single plus sign is it's a good potential for reducing crashes. 2 would be better, and then 3 would be best. And then we also have dollar signs that indicate a rough planning cost comparison. So for example, here at County Road 7, a J-turn could be implemented much cheaper than an overpass could be. So at County Road 7, our two preferred strategies developed are one, a J-turn. So this is similar to what's at Saratoga Street, the new recently completed project there, or what we call an offset T intersection, where we introduce elements of a J-turn. And the purpose of that is to eliminate the left turn conflicts that we've heard so much about that people are concerned with. How do we drive the median? Where do we park? To make sure, who has the right of way and so forth. So again, afterward here, we'll walk over and we can take a look at the boards in more detail, and you can ask questions to the assessment partners about these. Our next intersection is 4th Street. Here today, what we've seen since the Saratoga Street project has happened, we are seeing an increase in traffic using this intersection, so it's starting to pop up as an area of concern for us. We have 3 strategies that are preferred from our standpoint. The first one is to essentially close this south leg to the intersection to eliminate a conflict, but also look at either a J-turn or a roundabout. Now, essentially between a J-turn and a roundabout, they serve the same purpose for eliminating our dangerous conflicts that we're concerned about. But from a roundabout standpoint, its advantage is it helps significantly reduce speeds along a corridor. Our next area here is the Clarice Avenue, Lyon Street area. In working with the community through this process, we've learned that this is a real area of concern, not only now, but a real big concern moving into the future. And so we spent a lot of time looking at several different strategies here to help address the issues with essentially the movement from in town out to the Walmart, Menards area is really becoming a popular movement. So we looked at either keeping the intersections apart as they are today or bringing them into one intersection. And as part of that, our strategies are to upgrade the intersection control there with either a J-turn or a roundabout. And under either scenario where we would make an improvement to Lyon Street would be either a roundabout or a J-turn. What's important to note though is if we maintain these as 2 separate intersections, our strategy would be to remove the left turn from Clarice Avenue onto Highway 23, because that movement can be easily made down at the traffic signal that's at Highway 59. So Canoga Park Drive, Highway 59 area. Today we have Canoga Park Drive, which is really close to Highway 59 intersection. And the northwest leg to that intersection, which goes through the church, our strategy here is to close that to eliminate that conflict, given that drivers can use the traffic signal at Highway 59. In the future, we would like to take a look at limiting the left turn from Canoga Park Drive onto Highway 23, given it's so close to Highway 59, but also to help with pedestrian crossings and improving the safety at the intersection, essentially building up the roadway or the center between the 2 roadways with curb and potential landscaping. At Highway 19, again, we're looking at a strategy here to build up the median and improve the visual of the intersection to help with pedestrian storage and safety in that area, but also with speed calming. Commencement Boulevard and Tiger Drive. So this is out near the high school and in the university. We went through an effort here. There's a lot of concern in this area given the inexperienced drivers with the high school, but also understanding that this is a potential area of growth for Marshall. And so what we've looked at was a couple different options where we improve either the Tiger Drive intersection or work in some kind of improvement to both Commencement Boulevard and Tiger Drive. Through our process, what has risen to the top is looking at either a roundabout at Tiger Drive or moving forward with a J-turn. And again, as I mentioned earlier, between a J-turn and a roundabout, they essentially remove our conflict points that we're concerned about from a safety standpoint, but the added benefit of the roundabout is to help reduce speeds. So other intersections and locations along Highway 23 where we have strategies to help improve safety. Near County Road 7, we have received a lot of input and feedback regarding the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists trying to get from the developments on the south side across to get to school and recreation activities on the north side. So we're looking at ways to improve that, essentially improve ways for pedestrians to get across there. At Travis Road, at this point, going through our analysis, it doesn't appear to be a huge area of concern or have a history of issues. So it's an intersection that we're just going to want to continue to keep an eye on as things move forward here. And if any development starts to take place, that might bring some areas or some concerns down the road here. At Saratoga Street, obviously when we have the new pedestrian walkway today, any time we add a new connection for pedestrians and bicyclists on either side of Highway 23, that we have appropriate signing and so forth to make sure that they can get over to that safe crossing at Saratoga Street. As part of any improvements near Highway 59 or any redevelopment that may occur in the future, we'd like to look at an opportunity to connect back to Highway 59 to help with the potential of closing Canoga Park Drive in the future. O'Connell Street is an intersection that doesn't jump out to us right now as a huge area of concern, but as other improvements happen along the corridor, this is a good opportunity for us to close that intersection, specifically if we want to start fitting some improvements in here that would actually create an issue at O'Connell Street. Highway 19 and Tiger Drive, just south of the high school. We've heard a lot of feedback with the confusion on how that should be driven. So there are some signing improvements that we can make, but also we can work with the school to essentially educate drivers on how to drive that. But most importantly, long-term here, as that area grows with housing and businesses and so forth, to just continue to monitor to, at that time, to come up with the best way to treat that intersection. Moving north here at 269th Avenue, right now, this intersection, you're only allowed to come off of Highway 23 and then get back on in the southbound direction. So here's an opportunity for us, as any future local connections occur, to close that access and limit the conflict points there. Up at County Road 33, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about some recent improvements there with the truck acceleration lanes. And at this point, there's no real areas of concern that are jumping out to us. We'd like to keep an eye on this one as development occurs and potentially add acceleration lanes in the directions that are not there today on Highway 23. So as far as our next steps, we're going to be asking for some feedback tonight on the prioritization of the intersections. So what is your number one area of concern from an intersection standpoint? What is your second area of concern? But also, we've talked about the 4 different areas we've heard about: travel speeds, peds and bicycles, intersections, access to Highway 23. What is your main area of concern? We're going to be using that feedback to help us essentially put the puzzle together here to develop our long-term strategies and our plan for the corridor and how we want to implement these over time. Which intersections should be looked at first or fixed first, essentially. That's really what we're going to use input from to move forward here. We're also working through our documentation to prepare a report here to be available to the public in late summer, early fall. As always, we are very interested in hearing back from the community on your thoughts on what we're doing, what we're proposing, any feedback that we've heard. Our contact information is up here. We also have a website where there's educational videos if you're interested in learning more about roundabouts and how you drive them, what's their benefits and so forth. There's information about J-turns on the website. So we encourage you to reach out to the website if you are looking for more information. All the information that's presented here tonight is also up on the website for your information.